I didn't care anymore. I just did not care. I started going into the auditions like, you know, my life depended on me booking thug number 3. And I remember, like, you know, getting all this anxiety and desperation. And I was like, Mike, you know, I don't know a lot, but I know that this does not feel good. And this can't look good in the eyes of the casting people. Maybe this is what it's cost. Maybe it's over.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Michael K. Williams is an actor. He sat down with me in Midtown Manhattan to talk about the work.
I'd like to start with a quote from you. Music is a large part of how I reach my truth in character. So take me to when you first attempt to get into character. How is music a part of that?
Well, I'll tell you how I even derived that concept first off. One of my early, he was more of a spiritual advisor than a coach. Reggie Arthur is his name. And he always told me that every good actor keeps a journal. And we should keep these journals for references for emotions. You know, if I had to play a certain emotion, a certain happy emotion, a certain sad emotion, I can reference the journal. I go to the journal and reference a particular incident that would give me that emotion, and then, you know, and then switch out the event. However, I have certain things in my past I'm going to take to the grave, and putting it on paper probably would jeopardize that. I am frightened. Yeah. You hear stories of people losing their diaries, losing their journals, and that is a huge fear for me, to write down all my most inner thoughts and emotions, and then to have that be lost.
Yeah. So
you mix that with, and I have a slight inability to express my feelings verbally. You know, my feelings act out in different ways, which is where the addiction thing comes in and stuff like that. So I always found comfort in music, and more so than the music was actually the lyrics. You know, me and a friend of mine, Robin, we would always say, we don't play music, we send music. So if I want to tell you something, I probably would just, I could play music or certain songs, you can get an idea, a ballpark of where my head is at. So that's where the whole thing started for me. And the first time that I actually did it was on The Wire, when I actually I used that technique for myself. And you know, and in picking the music, like, okay, you take a character like Chalky White, and picking the music, it's not about, oh, I'm gonna pick the music for the time or what I think the character would be listening to. It's all about me. That's the one part of me that I take into the character that I don't let go of, is how I find the emotion in which songs that I play.
Mm-hmm. And I think that this is so interesting, because I think that if an actor goes to school or is in training, there's like tried and true ways that other people have to get there, and they think they have to fit into that. But there might be another way that they can get there. But even you saying like that you have a hard time verbalizing your emotions, like I have a hard time too, like you know, in my life, and I have a hard time even, like, my wife will say, like, how do you feel? I'm like, I don't have like a feeling about this. And she's like, you must. I'm like, I really don't. Like, I don't know. Like, I think I have two feelings, like anxiety and anger. Like, if well, are you sad about? No, it's just anxiety. It doesn't come out as sadness. It comes out as, and then suddenly I'm yelling. So this is inspiring to me, because there's got to be other ways that like can tap in that thing that I don't want to come up there. Like a music might do that. Like, it might just be something I can't even verbalize. I can't even like realize in myself.
I mean, it's so innate, it's so intimate. right now, if we were playing the radio and a song came on that took me to a certain part of my life that made me feel vulnerable, you won't know a thing, but I could sit right here in this room and feel completely naked, like completely raw and exposed, and you won't have an idea of that. You know, like I'll give one song. I'll give an example for it. It's an old Isley Brothers song called "Highways of My Life" by the Isley Brothers. That song strips me naked, strips me bare to my bare essentials. That song gets me every time right in the heart. And you know, no one knows my relationship to that song.
Right.
You can hear the lyrics, and you know that because it's not only just the lyrics. It's because that song also put me in a time.
Right, I was just going to say.
It's a time machine as
Yeah.
well as the lyrical content. So it's very impactful for me.
Yeah.
Very impactful.
Another video that I was watching just preparing for this was you describing the place you were in your life before the Wire audition. And I thought actors can really relate to it because you had the phone, as you described it, the phone wasn't ringing that year. It was 1999. And you had decided that you would take a part-time job with your mother at the daycare center. Anybody can relate to this moment you were in. And you were coming to the end of that. Even the end, you describe it beautifully because it was, you were worried about, you'd put more money into the package, you said, which you know, I imagine was like a better headshot, you know, something that was...
Reels had come into play. That was the new thing on the street.
Yeah. Then you say, then a fax came in and it was for the audition for Omar Little. And then that's when the video cut off. And that was the interesting part to me because I wanted to find out how you walked into that audition with that much writing on it. Can you just tell me about that audition and how you got rid of that desperation or worked with the desperation?
I didn't care anymore. I just did not care. The desperation was the reason I left, you know, early on in my career, you know. So the little bit parts started to come in all through 98. And then it just went cold in 99. And I started going into the auditions like, you know, my life depended on me booking Thug number 3. And I remember, like, you know, getting all this anxiety and desperation. And I was like, Mike, you know, I don't know a lot, but I know that this does not feel good. And this can't look good in the eyes of the casting people. Maybe this has run its course. Maybe it's over, you know, fall back. And when you mix that attitude with, you know, I was a little dead inside. I was battling a little bit of depression. The whole 9/11 incident didn't sit well with me. You know, where I lived in Brooklyn, on any given day, if the wind shift, you could smell the burning flesh. And that scent lasted for about a week or two after the incident happened. You know, no money in the projects, you know, motherfuckers driving planes in the buildings and shit. I got a little like, you know, what's the use? And I just didn't care. There was very much that I cared about when I got the audition for Omar. And that's how I walked in there. I just did not care. You know, I didn't really care if I was here or not. You think I'm gonna care about an audition? You know, so I went in, you know, there was some ray of hope in me to actually even get up to go. I would think the biggest part about me going in for that audition was the fact that I knew that Alexa Fogel was casting, and I knew that she had been looking for me, and I knew that she saw me as someone that she wanted to help to grow. And so I went because I knew that if it was a chance, she would give it to me. She would make sure that I earned it, but she would give it to me. And I went with that. I remember seeing my friends in the audition room, not really having much to say. It was a dark place in my life. I was far from happy when I went there.
I get the impression from actors that an actor who's directing somehow works better for them, for what they need from a director, than most other directors. Is that true with you?
That has been. I remember the first time I had that experience was with Ben Affleck on Gone Baby Gone, and I was like, okay, he's different. This is different, and I like.
How was that different? Tell me.
He was more engaging. He was more concerned, or dare I say, he was, at least to me, it appeared like he was just as concerned about the rhythm and the intent and the dialogue and the momentum between Casey and I, as he was about his shot. He there was one time he stopped everything, and it was just me, him, and Casey at the table in the restaurant rewriting things, and he would ask our opinions. I mean, on the set right there, we had a rewrite, and it was
all the technicians are waiting for you guys.
Yeah,
that's the odd thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, and not taking nothing away from their job. I mean, because all the pieces matter. However, if the canvas ain't clean, Picasso can't do shit with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we had to clean the canvas, and sometimes that in this particular situation it meant about the writing, you know. But when a director has been on the front, the actor side of the camera, they understand the vulnerability that we go through, the anxiety that we feel, you know, the not knowing. Because I'm not one of those actors that runs to the video village between each take. When director comes back and gives me that glow in his face, you know, his or her face, and they tell me thumbs up, then they got it, I trust them. So you know that trust has to come through communication, and when I know that the director cares about, you know, things that matter to me as an actor being in front of the camera, I know that he got my back when he's behind that camera. And it's a relationship. It's just, I can't really explain it, but it's a knowing.
You were just saying that you don't like to go to Video Village and watch it, but is that just in the moment, or is that all the time? Like, do you ever go back and watch any of these things that you make? A lot of actors don't do that.
That is just in the moment. I will never, ever, if I'm in it, I don't do the Video Village thing, because I will start to edit myself. However, once it's done and it's all gone through post, I watch it. I try to now watch it with not being so judgmental of myself. Like Mike, just appreciate it as a piece of art, the entire thing. I watch it to be entertained by my other castmates, who more than likely I'm probably a fan of or have grown to admire during the process of the filming. And I watch to judge myself. But now, as I get older, I learned to not be so judgmental of myself. One of the things I was a huge stickler of was my enunciation. You know, I got full lips. My tongue has a Brooklyn dialect to it, and you know, there's certain ways my mouth forms words that on camera it doesn't read very well, or in my mind it sounds like I'm mumbling. So I was real hard on myself for that, and you know, had to enunciate a little bit more, still be in my true self or in the true character, but be a little more clearer. So I'm always looking, Mike, could you hear yourself? Did you hear yourself? Did it sound like you could, every word was what you want to say? And I learned to pull back a little bit more from that.
But that's interesting, because that's one thing that you wouldn't have known if you hadn't watched yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people could say that and you could be like, what do they mean? Until you sit down and watch it, and then you can, and so that's like a productive way of dealing with watching yourself. So Emilio Estevez is an actor-director. Tell me what that experience was like working on this film, which is coming from, he also wrote this script too. So this is like a passion project for him, it sounds like.
And I'll tell you, before another type of director that I've grown to really respect to work for are writer-directors. The first time that I remember having an intense experience with a writer-director was Todd Solondz during Life During War Times. Those were his babies, each word. And if he used the word "and" twice in a sentence, you better had said it the exact same way he wrote it, because both of those "ands" mattered. And he and I, we bucked heads in the beginning of the production because I was a little lazy. You know, I called it the Mike Williams spin, where I would just paraphrase all your fucking words to make it fit my it was me being lazy because of my enunciation. All of those things were playing into me. Not if I didn't know how to pronounce the word, if it didn't feel like I would say it or it would come out of my mouth correctly, I would find other words or other ways of saying it or rearrange it for you. And he wasn't having any of that shit. He was like, you will say every word the way I wrote it, because I sweat blood and tears over these words, and you're gonna say them right. But that forced me to dig deeper, and it made my instrument stronger. And I thank him for that forever. And I take that now, you know, someone like Emilio, you know, and the second time I had that experience was with Terry Winter. Even though he wasn't a director, his words, he was so married to his words, man. It was a beautiful relationship to see someone have with their writing. I admire it. And Emilio, he didn't have that type of relationship. He came in like, you know, do what you please. And I was like, don't fuck with perfection. It's perfect. You know, I'm gonna find a way to say every word the way you said it, exactly how it's supposed to be said. And you know, so he had that freeness to him. And then, you know, the director side of him is his humanity and his compassion and his ability, his love of community is really humbling. You know, he made a movie. This Public is about a community. You know, the set was communal. We worked from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. No one ran back to their trailers. We sat on the floor. We played chess together. We ate together. We curled up on a corner and slept together. Well, you know, like, no, around the floor. And it was just the relationship, the environment that he created for us. It was like we got a glimpse into how these men and women that we're portraying really live, how they really they interact with each other. It was like we were them. And you know, Emilio created that whole atmosphere. You know, there was a scene where you see me jumping up on the table about the black prophetic fire. To keep it alive. You know, after that scene, I remember yelling and jumping up and down and screaming so loud that they had to catch me. I was getting dizzy, getting lightheaded. I was about to pass out. I gave everything. I kept nothing in that scene for myself. And Emilio, he yelled cut, and he looked at me, and he took off into another room. And some said, go. But like, you know, just ask him, was that okay? Like, you know, I was a little, like sometimes, you know, I get a little, I need confirmation. Did I do a good job? And he was crying.
Wow.
And he said that I did not understand how much, you know, dignity and humanity, you know, that I brought to the character. And you know, for him, you know, you have to have a certain mindset, a certain heart to see that. He saw that I gave everything. I mean, thank God the men, they caught me. I was going down. I couldn't even yell anymore. I was getting lightheaded. And he saw that, and it was humbling to see his reaction to something that, you know, something that I did based on the words that he wrote. Gotta have it takes a special kind of person to bring that kind of energy into the room.
Is there something that you do when you're not working to feed your inner actor, to keep the juices flowing within you for when you work again?
You know, that's a good question. Yes, there is. So I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm looking at the roles that the universe has given me, and they tell a narrative. You know, you look at The Night Of, you know, you look at right now, Central Park 5, you know, you look at The Public. And so I realized, okay, Mike, you know, you're telling a story, you're telling these really like humanizing stories in your career that is giving you a platform. What do you do with that? And for me, that has been, it's been about service. It's all about service for me. So that's what I do in my off time. When I'm not doing nothing, I'm about service. You know, I have this amazing gift from the universe in the form of a documentary called Raised in the System, that I took a journey to find out what is this school to prison pipeline, the juvenile criminal justice system. And so me and my nephew and I, Dominic, we go around the country and we screen it for anyone who will watch. We screen it at a juvenile facility, we'll screen it at a prison, we'll screen it at your college, we'll screen it at your local community center. But more importantly than getting people to watch it, is the dialogue that happens after that. That's where the magic is for me. And I've been doing that a lot. We screen like maybe 3 or 4 times a month. You know, like maybe acting like once a week now. And it gives me purpose. You know, I have a voice and I'm using it for something that matters to me, that I can maybe save a kid's life in my community from making some of the bad choices that I made growing up. And that's what I find has been taking up a lot of my time when I'm not working. Make it my foundation, making kids win.
I love that. Michael K. Williams, thank you so much.
Thank you for your conversation.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.